Right, okay, hi everybody. A very warm welcome today to today's webinar, which is hosted by Celestix and Kemp. On this webinar, we will go through replacing TMG with Kemp. So I'll have everyone on mute at the moment just to avoid the background noises that could distract you from listening to the webinar. Throughout this presentation, someone on staff will be managing the chat functionality. You can enter your questions and comments though at any time by clicking on the Q&A button during the webinar. The Q&A button is at the bottom of the Ring Central meeting panel. I'd now like to introduce and hand over to Sid Bloodsaw, the pre-sales engineer and technical trainer at Kemp.
Hi Natalie, thanks for that. Hi everyone. As Natalie said, I am the channel pre-sales engineer over at Kemp, and I'll be leading the webinar for today. And as Natalie said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat window, and we'll have some time after the webinar is over so we can answer those questions as they come up. So without further ado, we are talking today about replacing TMG, that's Microsoft's Threat Management Gateway, with Kemp's reverse proxy solution. At Kemp, we call a reverse proxy solution the Edge Security Pack. So the agenda is as follows. We're looking at why the change, TMG's last call, as we stated, the architecture for a reverse proxy, how does that work within a load balancer? Then we'll be looking at the features of the reverse proxy, where they carry over from TMG. And we will look at things such as customizable login pages. And then we will also talk about the Kemp trials, where you can go to download our TMG replacement. Okay, so the first one is, why the change? In September of 2012, Microsoft announced that they were just discontinuing any further releases of Microsoft's TMG solution. So as a bit of a background, for those who aren't aware, Microsoft TMG was used in a variety of applications, mostly Microsoft, such as Exchange, Lync, or Skype is now known, SharePoint, and other IIS web-based services, okay? And the TMG were to be sitting in front of those applications, securing those applications, as well as providing single sign-on experience, as well as providing a firewall capability. So the Threat Management Gateway solution was used as a reverse proxy or as a network firewall. From my research and from people I met in the field, 80% of the people using TMG were using it as a reverse proxy. However, there were some who were using them as a network firewall. If you require a full TMG replacement that leverages not only the reverse proxy functionality, but also the firewall functionality, you can speak with both Celestix and Kemp, and we can help provide that functionality. But today I'm going to be talking about how to replace the reverse proxy functionality of the TMG with the Kemp load balancer. So mainstream support ended in April 2015, and the extended support, so the final last call, will be ending on the 14th of April of 2020. So this webinar is quite primed in regards to getting the awareness out and seeing how Kemp and Celestix can help meet those requirements. So let's just take a big picture look on how the reverse proxy looks from a Kemp point of view. At first, an end user will log in, will have a customizable login screen that can be matched to suit your business's logo and look and feel. That will then be passed over through to an authentication provider. Now this can be any provider that you're currently using. For example, if you're a Microsoft house, you'll be using LDAP via Active Directory, but there are other things you can use as well, such as two-factor authentication. If you're in Azure, then an Azure multi-factor authentication, or another provider, such as Swivel Secure, Okta, other companies that deal with identity and access management. On the other hand, we also have logging and reporting that you can push to a SIEM tool of your choice or any logging software of your choice, so you can look at who's interacting, who's logging in, and so on. Once that is done, once the credentials have been passed over from the authentication provider back to the load balancer, we can then enable the single sign-on experience for the set of applications which the reverse proxy has been enabled on. And I'm going to show you in a bit how that works. But before I do so, I just want to cover some security features and benefits over TMG itself. So the features on the left, benefits on the right, as you can see. One of the things that is great about our reverse proxy feature is that we are able to customize the login and logout forms. So if you're using a two-factor authentication scenario, then you can hide the password on a reverse proxy, then push out your 2FA solution, depending on what that is for your business. Okay, so it has a nice unified look and feel, and Kemp is running in the background doing that. Or if you prefer to use certificate-based authentication, we can do so as well. We support third-party authentication providers. So we do, obviously, we're going to support Radius. We're going to be supporting LDAP. We can support other third-party solutions such as Swivel Secure. And we integrate very well with Active Directory. Most of customers looking for a reverse proxy solution are going to be using Active Directory, LDAP. So we have heavily targeted our reverse proxy and made it in such a way that it works really well with that, but also with other authentication protocols as well. That single sign-on experience is what we've all come to expect in a business point of view, whether it be signing into a conference meeting or signing into a Microsoft account to access all of your features. Is something that we all take for granted in a good way. And the load balancer is able to facilitate that single sign-on experience by providing a smooth way of providing credentials that can be accessed and maintained via logs. Another thing that we can do as a reverse proxy is that we can also help provide endpoint authentication. What that simply means is that when someone's trying to break in as a malicious attacker, what we don't want is them to try to be using password guessing attacks to sort of work out what password they can get in order to get into the system and infiltrate into their cyber kill chain. So with pre-authentication, with our Edge Security Pact, we are making sure that that attack doesn't happen, stopping another way of getting people into your organization's critical information and data and not taking it back with them. But Kemp are not only a reverse proxy, we're also a load balancer, or in today's terms, we call it an application delivery controller. So here are some other features that we can do, not only as a reverse proxy, but as a load balancer. So the conversations we tend to have are around the reverse proxy, but there is a bigger solution around this, which I can go into more detail in along with Celestix, and I can give you more information on how to contact either myself or Celestix for more information on that as well. But as you can see here, load balancing as a solution has been around for over 20 years. So I'm sure that people on this call and people listening on this will know about load balancing, but I can give you more information on that in a separate discussion. Now, if we want to look at the log files that are coming from the reverse proxy, so we're looking at it for monitoring, logging, and auditing purposes, you want to be able to access these logs in a very efficient way, and you want to be able to push them to a server or a solution that can then display the information in a much cleaner and much more graphical way. For example, Power BI, Splunk, or whatever solution you're using for that sort of thing. So I just want to break down what the three connection logs, security, and user logs are doing. The user logs is saying that the load balancer is recording all user logins, including the URL that the client has requested, along with its uniform resource identifier as well, or URI. If you look at security, this log is going to be looking at all the recording, all the security alerts. So obviously this is going to help in regards to your security posture and your security profile, making sure that you can detect when issues are going to be happening, when someone's trying to come in when they shouldn't be. The last one is around the connection. So we're logging each connection as they come in, so you can see how many people are using it over a given time period to develop trends for whatever objective you are trying to achieve. Now, onto the single sign-on domain section. What this part is that you need to create a domain in order to enable our reverse proxy to be used. It's pretty straightforward. So in this example, we're using kemptest.com as the domain. And once we're inside kemptest.com, we're going to be choosing the authentication protocol. In this example, we're using LDAP. And then we will then input the server that the load balancer will then speak to in order to authenticate users and the domain itself. There are two types of login formats. There's the printable name, which is just simply you putting in your name, or there is the actual full domain, which is you putting in your name at chemtest.com. Most people tend to like having domain names, not so for less typing. You can also create test user names and passwords to test to make sure that the settings you want are as appropriate and meet the compliance needs of your business. You can also set session timeouts. So after a certain amount of time, you want to have them to be kicked off of the sessions, or you want them to be, the session is no longer there. Putting this onto the load balancer itself, how this works is simply you would need to create a virtual service on the load balancer and then click enable. If you do it the other way around, what will happen is that the load balancer will say you need to create a single sign-on domain. There are two ways that you can use reverse proxy, either as authenticating clients, as in the client authentication mode at the top, or server authentication mode at the bottom. 90% of users tend to use client authentication mode at the top because that gives them more flexibility in terms of what they want to use as a solution rather than the server side. So as I mentioned earlier, you would put in the SSO domain, and then you can also put in some alternative SSO domains as well into the second box. Now the virtual hosts and directories inside there, this allows you to steer users to different servers, and you can also look at ways of influencing traffic to go to one set of servers or towards another one. Okay, so these are acting as filters. In the event that you need to do a test, you can see at the top one, it says a feature called asterisk, full stop, asterisk right here. What that allows is all hosts and directories to allow through until your testing is done. As I mentioned before, you can display the public or the private option. So if you're using a two-factor authentication, on this point here, you can actually take off the passwords. So you're going to be using a two-factor authentication if you're using that, or if it's just a regular username and password, you can do that as well. And you can set up a greeting message and a logging off message as well. So Kemp provide customizable templates on our website. We'll be giving you the tool for that in a moment. But at the same time, we also provide them within the load balancer itself. So one example is, as you can see here, this is just a standard customizable form on the Kemp load balancer when the reverse proxy is turned on and can be customized to meet your own needs. An example here, this is going to be authenticating users for Exchange, but this can be done for any other application as well. So going back to what I mentioned earlier about the customizable forms, as you can see here are some different permutations of that happening. So we can have them such as public and private users, having passwords taken off or put on, etc. And at the bottom, we can have them for mobile, so responsive for a lot of users are going to be accessing their information through mobile, so you can also customize it this way. Or, as I mentioned in the edge mail part, you can also customize it for your own business itself. Once again, in order to create that information, please see the link, which is kemptechnologies.com/docs. Then go to Tools, General Single Sign-On Custom Images, which will then give you the tools you can use to create your own forms. If you want more information around that, please let myself know. I saw that there's a question there, and I will get to that question towards the end as well. So in order to access the reverse proxies in terms of a trial, what we can do is simply, you would have to register for a Kemp ID first. That would simply be your name, company name, and your email address, which would be your Kemp ID and your password. Once that is done, you can then access a 30-day trial on our website, or if you would like to look at our sizing guides to see what our load balancer can do for your TMG replacement, you can also look at our sizing guides as well, and any other material on our website. If you want a reverse proxy demo, I'm very happy to provide a demo, but there's also a video on our website introducing our Edge Security Pack, but I can go into more detail and have it more customized for your business as needs are dictated. I just want to bring a couple of other slides in here as well. So, which is looking at the virtual appliances for the load balancer. So we do have different ways of providing the load balancing itself. So for example, giving you the virtual load balancers. We also have hardware, and we also have meter licensing as well. But I hope that this short webinar was able to give you a high-level overview of what the threat management gateway provided versus what a Kemp load balancer with a reverse proxy or ESP function can also give you as well. So as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, feel free to answer these questions now and get the questions fielded. At the same time, what I also want to state is that if you have any requirements around TMG, please also get in touch with Celestix and get in touch with myself, and we can assist you with that. If you would like any demonstrations on the load balancer, or if you would like any reverse proxy demos or anything subsequent like that, please get in touch with Celestix, who will get in touch with myself, or you can reach me directly at sbloodsaw@kemp.ax. So this has been our webinar for replacing TMG with Kemp's ESP solution. And thank you very much for attending.
Okay, thank you so much, Sid. That's brilliant. So I'm just going to read out one of the questions that's been posted. And it says, can you publish without authentication?
So with our load balancer, you can't publish without authentication. So the main feature of the reverse proxy is to be that authentication piece for it. Is there I would probably need to ask the background to that question, because unless that authentication is going to be handed off to another, as I mentioned, like another provider like Active Directory and so on, the reverse proxy won't work unless that feature is actually enabled. So you have to do it by default.
Okay, all right. Well, what we'll do is we'll reach out to the person that's asked the question, and we'll ask some more questions, and then maybe set up a call so we can get more background on that.
Okay.
Thank you. So, he's just said that they use TMG to publish websites hosted on-prem. These are public-facing sites.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that there as well. And what I would say to that is, obviously, you can do the same thing with our load balancer and the reverse proxy on that. I can, like I said, we can take that that question and we can flesh that out in a bit more detail offline.
Okay, perfect. Anyone else with any other questions at the moment? Let's have a look. I don't think so. So I think we'll end this webinar now. Thank you all so much for attending. We'll put a recorded version of the webinar on our YouTube channel. But if in the meantime you have any further questions, please send these through to info@celestix.com or directly to me, and that's natalie@celestix.com. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sid. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.